Hey, it's Paul. Welcome back to YNR Update. This is for the week of May 25th to May 29th. I'm going to jump right into things. There's a lot of wild and crazy things, and you're either sitting on the edge of your seat or you're smashing the plates because you're so mad. First thing we see is Tobias, and he crashed, Jack's big soiree, the one to bring Newman and Abbott together. Now, you have an idea that fake Jack knew that there was going to be some explosions here, but once Tobias shows up, you can tell that he and Victor don't want this kid anywhere near the party. In fact, he's ushered out while making a series of threats, while telling everybody they don't know what they're in for, while threatening to expose the truth. And it doesn't take much time to figure out that he was indeed a threat, because he's in a mysterious car crash. Now he's in the hospital, the kids go to see him. His last words are, "Austin," before he dies. And you see fake Jack lurking around there. There's no two ways about it. Fake Jack, aka Marco, had Tobias done in. Not only did he do that, but we see Kevin, and Kevin snoops into Paul's computer and finds some incriminating evidence that leads him to Tobias's place. He goes to Tobias's place, and there is all the evidence of all the murders. So now everybody thinks Tobias is the murderer, but Kevin knows better than that. It was way too convenient. He tries to tell the kids that Tobias is not the real killer, but they just want the whole thing over and they don't want to believe it. But we know who's lurking around, and we know who the real killer is. We also see Ashley at the party, and she tells Stitch that she still has feelings for him. It's a real awkward situation because obviously he's with Abby, and it becomes even more awkward because down the road Abby can't keep a secret because Stitch tells her, and what does she do? She runs right to her mother and makes it even more awkward. Speaking of awkward, how about Abby and Stitch? It's really tough to watch this couple. I cringe every time I see them kissing, hugging, making plans, whatever. And Abby keeps threatening to put the brakes on it because she's worried about her mom's feelings, but she doesn't. So, more agony. We also see the Dylan and Avery saga. Now, Dylan ends up telling Avery that, he's much more than friends with Sharon. In fact, she now knows they're sleeping together. And what does she do? That's right, Avery takes him in. He's a live-in guy now, and we see them getting cozy together, even though she says there's nothing. Phyllis tries to jump in. She tries to call Dylan's bluff. She tries to warn her sister, but Avery doesn't want to hear a thing about it. Joe's moved in, and that's it. And it doesn't take 2 seconds before Avery walks out of the room before we see, hey, Joe's kind of faking this recovery thing. He can actually get close to walking, but he's not going to let her know that because he's milking it for all it's worth. Wow. And more sad news for you. We see Sharon, and Sharon has now found out that Sage is pregnant with Nick's kid. We know that. But just as they're getting ready to tell Faith, guess who blabs it out to Faith? Sharon. I mean, nothing's safe. Now Faith knows, and she's not happy about it. What does it cost Nick? It cost him 1 day of custody, because in order to make his little girl not hate Sage's guts the way she does, he's got to give Sharon a day's custody. So we know that pregnancy is not going to go well for Sage because she's got Sharon lurking around, and God knows Faith is now a force to be reckoned with because she doesn't like anyone but Sharon in Nick's life. This is even sadder. We see Nikki, and now I guess they don't have enough time to write a real alcoholic storyline, so Nikki's downward spiral happens in 2 episodes. We see Nikki at the bar. She's really drunk. Some douchebag is hitting on her, and Nikki's kind of liking this. So what happens? She tries to pick up the guy, or he tries to pick her up. Neil jumps in, ends up slugging the guy, and they've got to cut a deal to make sure Neil doesn't get charged. Now, Victor wants to do something, but he wants to do the most rash thing, and Neil's kind of coaching him through this. And it gets worse for Nikki, because even with Neil trying to help her, I mean, the last guy you'd think who could help her because he just got out of the situation himself, she ends up, falling into the same trap, and she picks this guy up, takes him home, and actually sleeps with him. It's actually the oddest thing I'd ever seen. Neil gets there, throws the guy out, and Nikki does admit that she picked the guy up. So we know that for Nikki, the next stop is intervention. So Neil sets up an intervention. Like I said, he's still the last guy I would have run an intervention. But he sets up an intervention, brings the whole family there. They surprise Nikki. She's not having it at all. She actually goes for a drink and collapses. And the next thing we see is, she's visited by an angel. Yeah, that angel, the one that that dated Meg Ryan when she was on, what was that CBS show? Yeah, that one. Steve Katsopoulos guy. He's now the angel. And he's trying to make sense, to Nikki of this whole situation and let her know that she's dead. And we see a series of flashbacks where Nikki goes through all the process in the hospital, all the way up to being buried, her family grieving, and she now thinks that this is it, it's over for her. But guess what? They've faked this out. Through the magic of television, she's not really dead. In fact, the angel is her recovery sponsor, or her recovery coach, who is one and the same Frank Runyon, the same Steve Katsopoulos. He is now going to be her angel in recovery, and his name is Angel. Wow, could you figure that one out? And so now we know there's hope for her, and we hope Nikki can work her way back. So it's a real tough one. The other thing that we see this week that really sort of moves things along is we see Gabe, and finally he gets together with Jack, who he thinks is real Jack. And of course he relates to him that he's not really Gabe, and he tells him who he is. He tells him he is Victor's son, Adam. So fake Jack goes running to Victor, and he's just about to tell him when we get cut short. So we'll have to wait till next week to see what happens. But we see real Jack, and real Jack is now on, he's boarded one of those ships, that cargo ships, and this thing is bound for the open seas, and it's got drugs in it, and we see one guy smuggling drugs or sticking them in his pocket. Eventually Jack makes a move for some of these drugs and gets knocked out. He comes to, and these guys are around. They think he's Marco. In fact, the head guy thinks that he's Marco, and he owes him a bunch of money for some 2007 drug deal gone wrong. Now, what's he going to do? How's he going to get out of this? We also see Victor, and Victor's talking to the worst police in the world on that island that he stuck fake Jack, or real Jack, on with Kelly, and he talks to him, and he confirms to him that he's probably gone from the island. In fact, they think he jumped onto one of these container ships that's headed for, guess where? Yeah, Peru. The same place that they took Marco out of, the jail, the Peruvian jail. So Victor's kind of laughing because now he knows real Jack's going to be confused for fake Jack. And that's where we kind of leave things off. An interesting week. A lot has happened. Some not so good, but just sit back and see what you think of it. Let me know what your thoughts are. This is YNR Update for the week of May 25th to 29th. It's Paul. Have a great weekend.